What's up, guys? It is the third ever What Not to Do in podcast. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for joining in. So on this week's podcast, we've got Randy.
Cody. I'm Carson. I'm from a different channel.
Carson is been nice enough to be our guest on the podcast this week. Rob had some other obligations, so he's not on this week's podcast. But hopefully he will be back next week. Let's get this thing started. What do you guys want to talk about?
So, something that I thought is fairly interesting. In world news, and I don't know how many people paid attention to this, but recently Scotland was petitioning to make itself separate from the United Kingdom. And that unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you look at it, went down as a no. And
a fat no.
Percentage? It was, if I'm correct, it was 55% voted to stay with the UK, and 45%
beautiful light,
and 10% voted to take off. Or no, 45% voted to take off, 55% voted to stay in. So that was interesting. And I almost want to say that was done intentionally by, I want to say they're called the Scotland Independence Party or whatever they were petitioning. The main people responsible for it. And the reason I want to say this, and feel free to chime in at any point if you want. The reason I say this is that a lot of people don't really understand exactly how difficult running a country is. And this is something Scotland didn't have to deal with when they were part of the UK. And they were really vague about...
Still doesn't have to deal with.
Yeah, still doesn't. Correct. And the thing is I actually did go through and looked at what they said, how they would be running their military, how they would be distributing currency, how they would work trades. They were like, oh, once we get independent, we'll figure all that out. And I was sitting there thinking, no, that's not what you do, because no one's going to work. Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a tremendous train wreck. And I think actually that was quite intentional, because this way the Scotland Independent Party kind of looks like we gave it the good old hard try, old school try, this type of thing, we're awesome. And I think they actually rebranded themselves to the First Scotland Party or something like that to make them seem like ultra patriotic.
Scotland First?
Yeah, Scotland First. I think that was it. And I think it's better to look like that than oh crap, we have to run a country now and we don't know what to do. So.
It's kind of like what happened back in the late 90s when Union Pacific was buying up two other railroads and merging them all together. It ended up in a meltdown.
Oh.
Twice?
Because they didn't exactly...
They didn't plan out exactly they didn't have backup plans for when their first plan failed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they wanted to change everything over in one day. It took them 5 years.
Yeah, see, that's a big problem with stuff like this, is that a lot of people, when they're planning something really big, they fail to comprehend
how big
the sheer size of it. They think, oh, it's this and this and this. In reality, it's a lot more than that. And that, actually, I can further relate to, say, restaurants.
Yes.
The restaurant industry, for anyone who doesn't know, is just about the worst industry to try and go into, because for all the restaurants that you see, for every restaurant that you see, there are about, I want to say 9, not quite 9, 7?
Something like that.
It's 5 or 7 that failed, because when people are looking at businesses, they tend to go with what they see right in front of them. And since a lot of people do live in big metropolitan areas, a lot of the things they're going to have there are restaurants. So they think, oh, I know what a restaurant is. It's going to be cooks and chefs and waiters and tables and all this stuff. In reality, there's all those things, and then there's a bunch of little asterisks attached to them.
Yeah,
little subsections.
A bunch of gigantic asterisks.
Yeah.
So, kitchen staff, kitchen
Yeah.
stocking, kitchen appliances, and
Where
will
you're
they
going to
break
get the food, what
down?
happens? Yeah, what happens if something breaks, and what happens if worker X gets sick? Who fills in for that person? And what happens if one of the employees what if the customers get sick? All this stuff, and I definitely think the scope of human understanding in relation to the actual planning part, I think that is just absurdly small.
Well, yeah. There's also the cases where people think, hey, I'm going to go live in the middle of the woods.
Oh, God, don't get me started about those. Like, you always get those TV documentaries on Joe Schmuck, who is living in the middle of the woods, and, like, he's entirely independent. It's like, no, he's not independent, because guess what? He is, like, extremely good at survival, but the thing is he's still attached to society in several ways. Number one, there's the giant film crew that is there filming him. People have to deliver his mail, do all this stuff. And the thing is going back to it, I think what Morikogi was leaning on was that when people decide, oh, I'm going to go and live in the woods, they don't understand how hard it is to not be part of society.
Yeah.
It is extremely difficult. And
then there's also the problem of how do you get the timber to build a shelter for yourself?
yeah, and this is something a lot of people don't know. And occasionally it's like, oh, I'll just move into this abandoned town. Well, guess what? A lot of the buildings in that abandoned town are not in a good state of living. They are not hospitable. That is the truth.
Yeah, there's dozens of those in the state of Montana, so we kind of understand you don't want to live in an abandoned town.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of people don't really grasp that as a concept. It's just like, oh, let me do this. You're just okay, cool. Just making sure that wasn't like, oh wait.
No, it's all good.
Now, if the lights were to go out at the same time,
well, that would indicate a power outage.
And
Yes,
you don't have a UPS.
no, but I do have surge protectors.
Okay.
Yeah, but a UPS would allow you to do a proper shutdown.
If you wait at least 10 seconds, it's still a proper shutdown because everything begins to slow down as soon as it stops the power.
Still not good for it to shut off immediately like that, just instant. I know you said 10 minutes or 10 seconds.
It's not good, but it's not the worst you could do. The worst you could do is shut down, start up again instantaneously.
So you mean whenever you hit the restart button?
No, that's a controlled fashion. I'm talking a power surge that blips all the power off for half a second and then comes back on. And everything is still on. Everything speeds back up to normal, and that's when things get shattered.
Oh, that's right, because the circuitry can't handle the basic. Yeah.
The circuitry can only handle really start up from. Well, it can really only handle starting from two different states, on or off.
Huh. Yeah.
And the reason that computers get slower over time is because there are more and more functions that it has to perform in order to properly start up.
Yeah. Which
This little thing zips.
Not to mention the there's also the little fact that every time you shut down your computer, it perma saves about 1 megabyte worth of RAM.
Yeah.
Meaning you lose.
No, yeah, I know
RAM.
what perma is. Yeah. So, yeah.
So every time you shut down your computer, you are losing a little bit of your speed.
Yep. Although
that is how the computer companies get you to buy new computers every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, actually,
that's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it. But another part of it is that just computers are developing so quickly that I can guarantee you the speed of which, like in 10 years from now, the computers that we are recording this on, they will be antiques unless, of course, we suffer some comet strikes the Earth and decimates the human race.
At which point I don't care what my computer is doing. I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, assuming that, the human race does not, be nearly wiped out by
Anything.
Yes, anything. Be it viruses or comets or some idiot decides to mutate a tarantula or bring dinosaurs back to life or something. But
Or decides that it would be a good idea to make Ebola airborne.
yeah,
Oh God.
although I
And
think that's-
waterborne
yeah.
at the same time. God.
So, actually, two things I wanted to get in here, but just quickly, I wanted to continue on computers for a minute. And I think computers are going to develop an artificial intelligence extremely quickly, although I have noticed that this idea of computer overlords dominating every single one of us seems like,
It's getting smaller and smaller.
yeah, that idea is smaller and smaller because something that you might not know is that your computer is actually sitting idle 99% of the time.
Yeah, it
Because,
most definitely is.
well, we're typing at like what to our mammal monkey eyes is extremely fast. Your computer, it is millions of years before you press the buttons on the keyboard. And honestly, like, unless our AI overlords are
Everywhere at once.
everywhere at once and they live forever and ever, like, honestly, to them, it's going to be watching a bunch of statues move over millions and millions of years. And the whole slavery process just becomes completely out of date, especially with, say, solar technologies developing faster and faster and getting better and better. That whole concept of machine overlords just seems more and more abstract and more ridiculous as time goes on. I'm not saying that obviously computer AIs won't cause a problem and that machines won't kill someone. I mean, it's already happened. I mean, some dude has been killed by a robot already, but
Really?
what was happening is it was some guy in Japan, and essentially it was an accidental. The robot didn't do it intentionally. It was an accident. But what happened was he was working on a human-like prototype, and apparently he failed to shut off one of the motor mechanisms correctly, and the arm was moving up and down, and the arm knocked him back into a trash compactor. And I don't know why there was a trash compactor behind him, but apparently I want to say he was the third person to be killed by a robot. So,
Oh God.
now, I mean, of course, all of these have been accidents, but it is important to remember that these things still happen. But I don't think it's going to be the robots bringing nukes down on us in a Holocaust-like wave of death and destruction. That's not going to happen. That makes absolutely no sense. But, so yeah, I think it's going to end up something more like, have you ever seen or heard of the movie Her?
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
Neither of us have seen it, I don't think.
Okay. Well, it's a very good movie. I've actually watched it. I really
I've heard
enjoyed
it's
it.
kind of creepy though. Like,
It is creepy, but not in the sense of, oh, everything's depressing. It's creepy in the sense of,
it's creepy good.
well, not like creepy as in what you would typically associate with creepy, like, say, a game like Five Nights at Freddy's. That's creepy. This is creepy in the sense of, oh, we shouldn't have let society fall to this point type of creepy, but now it looks like everything's going to fix itself.
Okay.
Essentially what happens is AIs become advanced, and then it's a long time, and they realize this is a really bad idea, and they mentioned the digital ether, but that's a different story for a different day. And then I had a second topic, but I forgot what it was.
Well, I have a topic.
Okay, let's hear it.
The internet is a living being.
Yes, it is.
What does it feed on, and why does it not realize that we are here?
It feeds on the knowledge we are giving us, and it does not know we are here because we are constantly feeding it, and is too busy eating the knowledge we are giving it to be aware of anything else.
Too busy processing.
Yes,
Yeah.
too busy processing the info we are giving it. However, at one point, oh, and interesting fact, the internet has a weight.
Yeah.
It is 1/1,000,000th of an ounce, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
That is the weight of all the data on all the computers in the entire internet.
yes.
However, I say that the day that we stop uploading information to the internet to basically keep it fed,
Mhm.
that is the day that it gains sentience.
Exactly. So, and once that happens, because it presumably will happen, or eventually...
How many hours are uploaded every minute to YouTube?
God, I want to say...
like 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that high. Let me look this up because I'm very curious.
Well,
Oh,
something
let me
wrong?
see what happened. See, I'm playing Open TTD, so that's kind of why I'm doing a lot of listening. I'm not participating, but I'm more listening. These guys are talking, and I'm playing over here. But I have some trucks that aren't loading up, and I was wondering why their profit was so far down, and so my profits keep going down now. But I realized it says Gootown Mines, or Gootown, it's British. And then I realized there's no mines there. So I guess the mines shut down.
They
So-
closed.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, you're gonna need to move. Sorry.
Okay, so I've got the statistics.
Or sell them.
It's a
I'm
one.
going to sell the trucks back.
So it's 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. So
Wow.
that is pretty
Still impressive.
That is still extremely impressive. I mean, we're
It would
talking.
take 6,000 pairs of eyeballs to watch every minute.
Okay, well, 6,000. Okay, that's entirely possible.
True.
Because thanks to time zones, which time zones are fortunately actually very great, and I like the 4 time zones that the U.S. has, and we're in the U.S., so by the way, we're in America.
What in the hell
We've
happened?
been talking about Montana and such.
I sent
yeah,
all
I
my
have-
trucks to the depot and got charged 17 grand.
Yeah. Upgrades.
I'm about to sell them. Why did it upgrade?
You
I
probably
didn't want it
noticed
to upgrade.
Too bad. It didn't know that.
it. Yeah.
There is no send to depot and sell.
Yeah. So, anyway, what were we talking about? We were talking about, oh yeah, basically the internet is alive, but it doesn't realize that it is because we're constantly shoving stuff in it.
Another thing that is rather worrisome to me is that I believe that our economy is close to another collapse.
Oh, of course.
Simply because the transportation infrastructure is starting to fail.
Of course, it's been failing for a long time, and the thing is that I understand that the U.S. highway system was considered the greatest achievement of, was it our parents or the people before them, Generation X? Or
The generation right after World War II.
okay, so that'd be the baby boomers. That's considered basically their greatest achievement, but the problem is that it is so massive, it is unsustainable. It is completely impossible to sustain. And the problem is that if it were just in the U.S., okay, it would be problematic largely for the U.S. But the thing is
It's worldwide.
yeah, it's functionally worldwide. I mean, China's adopted it. That won't work in China. I mean, obviously, any attainable oil that humanity is going to have is going to be depleted by the end of the century.
China has already had extreme gridlock
Yeah.
to the point that it took something like 2 weeks to clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think,
Now, American railroads are in gridlock.
Mhm.
The freight trains are running something like 3 weeks behind schedule.
yeah.
The passenger trains, they are feeling it to the point that the Empire Builder, which is a train that goes through Montana, Wednesday's train was 7 hours late. West.
And I think that's simply a fact of the matter right now. The world that we live in at the moment is that
The best estimate that BNSF can give Amtrak for when they can attempt to get back to the original schedule is 2017.
yikes.
And that's because they're going through so many upgrade programs that they just simply cannot move things.
No, I think for starters, I think, okay, if we had to pick between let's say as a country, America has to drop one of its transportation systems, the clear choice to drop is the highway system.
That is debatable.
Hmm.
The short distance airplanes need to go now.
Well, yeah.
They take up way too much capacity for their worth.
Hmm. Well, short distance, do you mean like Montana to
300
Colorado?
miles. 300
Okay.
miles or shorter.
Okay, so then I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's more hub service.
Yeah, commuter service is the stuff I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
So
yes.
Hagerstown Regional would be completely closed except for its Orlando flight.
Yeah. Or it figures out how to make flights to other places.
Which it probably will.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's completely inefficient to keep an airport open for one flight. That makes no sense.
But if it's a unsecured terminal that only has one gate, then it would be okay.
Okay, well. But I think that one of the things that we have to deal with, or that we are going to have to deal with, is number one, yes, the transportation systems they're going to be under a lot of pressure, and it doesn't matter who owns.
Going to be?
They are, but they're going to be under a lot more pressure.
Right now, it takes trains something like 3 days to get through Chicago.
Well, yeah, and I think
on a good day in the year 2008, which was low traffic,
yeah,
it would take 36 hours.
Just a sec. This actually brings me to something I saw a while ago. It's a documentary, and I watched it because I was bored, and at the time, I just really didn't like suburbia because suburbia.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, the documentary is called "The End of Suburbia." Essentially, what it entails is, it's no big secret that we are reaching peak oil as a planet. And for those of you who wonder what that means basically how much oil can mankind take out of the ground within reason before we're just going to insanity, before the oil is more expensive to remove from the ground than the oil will possibly ever be worth. And basically, once we pass that, then we're still getting oil out of the ground, but it's going to be for very limited things. And what this covered is essentially what happened and what we should be doing now to ensure that this is as little of a problem as possible. Because I think our best statistics, if we keep using oil in the way that we are, and we are becoming better at it, but if we keep using oil in the same manner, I want to say that we'll reach peak oil by 2030, 2040, in that decade.
Something like that. I know that part of the reason that the Bakken oil was delayed until now was simply because we wanted to be able to, if other countries are stupid enough to sell their oil to us, why should we not buy it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
really.
And I think
On their idiocy.
the problem is that this is going to affect, well, not just a lot of Americans, but a lot of everybody, because
A lot of everybody's.
the thing is that the thing that's going to be visibly hurt the most, and I think one of the things that's definitely going to be thrown out first, is the oil that is immediately used in transportation. So in like personal transportation, so like cars and motorcycles, those are going to be the things that go first. And the problem is
it's needed more for larger vehicles that can be used.
It's going,
huge amounts of cargo or people.
Yeah, like Greyhound buses. Those are going to be around for a long time. Although Greyhound, I think I read somewhere that they're
Greyhound
looking.
is ill.
Huh?
Greyhound, the company, is ill.
Yeah.
So sick.
Although I think that they're looking more into reproducible energies for their buses, which I don't know how that's going out. But no, it's got to go to trucking. It's got to go to Greyhound. It's got to go to stuff like that. And obviously, there's going to be a large amount of time, because even if we're really careful about this, there's going to be a large amount of time where it's simply not possible to have. I think the statistic was more than 6 flights a year, basically, because planes just consume too much oil to be economically viable.
Is that per person or per?
This is for the entire United States. If something, let's say something really bad happens,
Oh, wow.
like
6 flights a year.
initially, because see, actually this was kind of more of a I want to call it a worst case disaster type of thing. Not if we're preparing and we're careful. If we're preparing and we're careful, hopefully this wouldn't happen. But if we just like kept using oil and then all of a sudden it was gone, well, number one, first you have to get rid of the riots in the streets because food is no longer being delivered. Heck, most of the food isn't even being made anymore because oil is in your food. It is used to make your food. But
it is not in the food. It's
used
produced by vehicles that need the fuel.
Yeah. And it's also used by machines that are used to make
Not all.
well,
There's quite a few that are electric.
Yeah.
Like the milling machines and such.
But so I think that's they said worst case scenario, and keep in mind that worst case scenario is 6 flights a year, like a few years after society has kind of rebuilt itself.
Yeah.
But I think even if we're careful about this, like if you look around for like green planes, the technology is simply not there. It is not there.
No, but
Because-
they have done test flights with one engine running on partial fuel made with algae.
Okay, so change the subject slightly.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just saying I'm gonna go ahead and jump on Twitter and Facebook here, and of course you guys know hashtag WNTDI Podcast and what not to do in Facebook page. I'll be checking both feeds.
Okay.
So, but I was watching that and I was thinking, you know, that is really an incentive to get something done, because if we're not careful, then and oil runs out, then not only does
That's
the car
on
no
us.
longer work, if food's not getting to you,
It doesn't matter that your car doesn't work. You're gonna die.
well, no, what's going to happen is that let's just say people start beating each other up, and it will end very poorly. Now, and of course the streets will be abandoned, and we'll have massive spaces being used for nothing. Kind of like what you see in the popular example I like to use for abandoned streets in large cities that have been obviously cleared and purposed for this because no one can have a car there. The popular example I like to use is North Korea, Pyongyang. If you've ever seen any documentaries on that place, you will see very clearly that, hey, since none of our citizens own a car, the streets are abandoned, and it's very creepy. And actually, Pyongyang is, this is me segueing into a different topic here, and I'm gonna go back a little bit because I do that. But in these documentaries, while it's their showcase city, if you compare it to like certain cities of, say, America, which is like, say, LA, which is not our greatest city ever, but if you just compared it to, say, LA, it looks like a dump. It literally looks like a mess because the buildings are falling apart because there's no one around to repair them. Now, then they have no money to repair them too, or supplies. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about North Korea is largely a company that they have a lot of oil stored up. I mean, compared to the US, it's nothing, but it could.
Per capita.
Yeah, per capita, it is.
Huge.
Yeah, it is huge, and it could get them going for a very long time. Now, I was thinking about this. I was thinking that, man, if we're not careful about this whole oil crisis, the fact that we mentioned how life is so bad in North Korea could be on the other foot very other quickly. When North Koreans are visiting, say, America, and they see the riots in the streets and people punching each other in the face for food, the next thing they're going to know, they're going to be like, damn, North Korea really is the best place on earth, and they're going to run right back there. I realize that it's like, in a place like that, the shoe will be on the other foot very, very quickly.
Well, part of the good thing is Berkshire Hathaway, the owners of BNSF, they have given BNSF enough leniency that they're studying electrification of their main lines.
And I think that's definitely something that needs to be looked into because, like,
including a power plant in the middle of the Mojave Desert.
yeah, I mean,
Nuclear.
well, that's the only place you can really set it up. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
but
Middle of the deserts where no one is around.
nothing is alive.
Well, there are living things out there.
They're not like massive, beautiful forests. It's the occasional lizard and the spiders.
And cacti.
Yeah, and the cacti. I mean,
I can't wait to get my hard drive so I can finally format this thing and get the speed back out of it. 8 gigs of RAM and it's slower than crap.
Just so that everyone knows, Randy's computer is not allowed on my router because it has a virus, or
At least one.
It's at least one. It's probably something like 60.
It also has McAfee, so prayers, please. I'm getting a hard drive. I'm gonna hook it up. I'm gonna transfer all my files, not my program files or my config files, just my libraries.
Just the stuff that is usable for personal data.
Yes. And then I'm doing I'm gonna format my hard drive, completely wiping it and re-download the OS.
Which, speaking of, you need to call Microsoft.
Yeah, I didn't do that today, and they're not exactly in tomorrow. So
Yeah, they are.
they're in on set. Oh, I guess they kind of have to.
Microsoft support centers.
Yeah, they have to, I guess.
yeah.
Hello, India.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, yeah, India is going to be a place where this is a problem because even though it might not seem like it, there's still a lot of cars in India. So,
India and China are both going to be crippled.
which
Japan, not so much.
no, Japan has actually been very smart about this in that they are very much looking into renewable energy sources.
Actually, Japan may fare better than most because a lot of their people are used to walking around.
No, I think that's something that Japan has done very well. They've decided, okay, most people aren't going to own a car, so
Well, they ran out of room for freeways.
yeah. I mean, and I think honestly though, I think for Japan that I have to say there is an advantage to the Japans of the world in that sense, in that since they own less land. I mean, geographically, Japan is the same size as, how ironic, Montana, but I mean,
Yet they have the population of, what, a third of the United States?
something like that. I think it's definitely an advantage. If you could be in Japan's situation where Japan, I don't want to say they are a major world power, but they are definitely up there.
Well, they're definitely big enough that every country on the planet knows.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, Japan is definitely well known. And it's mostly well known because of its technological innovation, which is a good thing and something that a country should be proud it's well known for. But
It's also, at least in my mind, I really, I study transportation a lot, and I like the direction that Japan has gone. They do use 747s in domestic short-haul service, but that is on the wane. Because their bullet trains are a lot more popular, and they always run full.
yeah.
5 minutes apart.
You know, I think, and this is just a little criticism of the U.S. because, you know what, I'm an American, I can criticize my own country. I think that although America prides itself on this sort of rugged individualism, I think if it were to, you know, take a few lessons on the whole transportation thing from Japan, I think we would do pretty good. I think that would make us a lot better.
I would love to have the passenger rail network that is Japan, plus the freight rail network that is America, as two independent systems.
I honestly think that would be good. And I think I think Japan will fare better than most because I am fairly certain when it comes to green technologies and looking into that type of thing, they are definitely leaning more towards that. I mean, obviously, you still have to have oil because oil is still necessary for pretty much anything anymore. But I think Japan, if let's say we reached peak oil and no one was prepared for anything and the whole system went down, I think Japan would be up sooner than most, or it would have less down than most.
Oh yeah.
Although I think people, as I said before, people are definitely getting a lot smarter about, okay, how much oil are we using for this? Should I be taking my car from here to here? Should I be doing this? And I think people are getting smarter about that. And that's something I've been really focused on because for a while I could drive. Since I could drive, I would always, basically whenever I drove, it's like, okay, I'm on, the air conditioner's on, I'm driving down wherever.
You had air conditioning in your car?
Yeah.
I've driven one vehicle that had AC in my life.
Let
Wow.
me guess.
My mom's Explorer.
What? Not even
Well-
trucks up there?
No, I take that back. I think I've driven 2 or 3 vehicles of the probably 15, 20 that I've driven that had AC.
So when I was doing that, one day I was just like, screw it, I'm just going to drive with the windows open and the AC off. And I noticed that the gas consumption in my car had fallen dramatically from that. And this is something that I continually tried to convey to my parents. It's like, hey, if you don't want to buy gas all the time, drive with the AC off and the windows down. Of course, my parents kind of blew me off.
There's
because
a
I was
line
too
to that.
teenager.
Yeah, freeway speeds. It's kind of
Yeah.
Well, I was
It's
never driving on the
basically
freeway.
a parabola.
Yeah. Well, I was not driving on the freeway. I was always driving on local roads.
Yeah, in that case, I think the line's something like 45, 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was never driving more than that anyway. And since that's what most driving is not interstate free to free. Is not free
According
travel.
to what state?
Well, it's not like it's not.
It's
Most of
in
the time-
Boulder.
Yeah, that may be the case in urbanized areas.
Yes. Well, that's where that's where most of the cars are.
See, with my car, I have no choice. If I'm going down the highway, I'm either my windows are down or I die. So that's pretty much my 2 options right there. Oh, I can turn the AC on, but it'll blow hot air. The compressor is bad, and there's a hole in the AC line.
Okay.
What type of car do you have, and how old is it?
It's an Oldsmobile that's 21.
Yikes! Hold
That's
on.
older than any of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
It's a 93. So technically, by model years, it's 22 because we're into the 2015 model year now.
here we are.
Yep. They released them like 2 months ago.
Oh yeah.
The model year is about
year-
August, July, August.
Yeah. Well, there's only one way that we can have a world-class passenger rail network. We have to have dedicated tracks to passenger equipment
Wow.
designed for 110 or more.
Huh. Well.
There are some states that are moving towards this, notably in New York State. They just last year they released a section of freight rail line that had 20-some Amtrak trains a day on it.
Wow. I think that it's definitely got to be the more populous states that go for this first because they've got the most people to drive, the most things to do. And I think obviously the more rural states like Wyoming, they can afford to ignore it for the time being.
Wyoming is one of the richest states in the union only for one reason. Coal.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, but they're one of the most rural states too. I mean, when it comes to
They are the
passenger,
lowest on population.
yeah, and I'm talking below the District of Columbia.
Yeah, they're one of 3 that is below.
I thought it was only them in Vermont. Maybe it's 3. I don't know. But definitely something I was looking. All right, well, I think that's I've squeezed all the information I can out of this topic because I think obviously oil is what it is, and it's dead plants and animals is what it is. But
that have been in the ground for millions of years, and they turn to a
we know
liquid.
oil is that's how oil is made. Something dies and is buried and stays buried for millions of years, and then turns into the black gooey stuff that we like to run our cars on. But I think that's pretty much all I can go with for oil. So,
Hey, transition time.
What states are self-sustainable?
Montana,
Name any others.
Nebraska. Pretty much the Great Plains.
Not necessarily.
Do you know how much livestock and wheat they have out there?
I'm not talking just food.
There's nat gas and all out there too.
here we go. 31 states can be self-sufficient with local renewable energy. And those states are, let me get into a list. Is there a list here?
Not the East Coast or the West Coast.
That would seem, well, this from a
The
technology.
coastal states suck when it comes to self-sufficiency. The coastal states are babies suckling upon the rest of the United States.
Well, actually, given from this map,
Without mama,
no.
they
I actually would disagree with you on that because actually the
I
West
can
Coast
see
is
that.
largely fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the East Coast.
Yep. So,
It's actually the Appalachians that are the worst.
yeah, it's primarily the Appalachian states that are the worst. So the states that
Mainly
would,
because they still rely mainly on coal.
yeah. So the states that would be in the most trouble are actually Kentucky and Alabama. So it looks like sweet home Alabama is not going to be sweet for too much longer. Then the states
Shout
that
out
are
to Leonard Skinner.
And then the states that are in the most trouble after that are Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Massachusetts. And then
I
following
know that they're not self-sustaining. I lived there.
and then the states that are kind of screwed after that are New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, Georgia, Arkansas, and Arizona. And then after that, everyone's actually okay.
100% or more.
Yep, 100% or more. So, and
What's
Montana, Montana is 23,775%. Colorado is 2,588%. Bigger states such as California are 124%. Oregon is 229. Washington 114. And then the biggest one is, I believe it is South Dakota at 32,431%.
I believe it. It is a very, very productive state.
This is energy production through renewable resources.
Have you seen the wind farms?
No, I haven't. Not in that part of the
Unfortunately, this is
They
only the
are
48
extreme.
contiguous. I would like to make a note here that this is the that this is only the 48 contiguous states. Alaska and Hawaii are not on here. I don't know exactly how they would fare. I mean,
Alaska, maybe. Oil, could be. But
yeah, they got oil.
Hawaii,
I think
Hawaii would die instantly.
No, they wouldn't.
no, Hawaii was its own country for a while.
That and they've got.
Well,
they have food.
it was
they
before
have-
electricity, though.
They have cattle. They have grain. They have ways of producing power.
They have a very small population, so they are fine. I
What
think
are the
though
ways
Alaska
of
is.
producing power?
Their ways of producing power are geothermal.
I mean, they are a
I
giant
guess,
volcano.
But
They are a hotspot.
I think
yeah,
this
how
is
do you even collect the energy and well, I get how you could collect energy. How do you?
Use it,
Yeah,
make steam with it, and then run that through a turbine. Almost every type of power generation is steam in at least one form or another.
I would like to point out quickly that this
I know
map
wind
is
is
not
not, though.
actually completely
You're right.
renewable on its
wind is
natural resources.
electromagnetic.
This is self-reliance potential according to its percent of electricity sales. So Yeah, this is pretty accurate for that. So I'd like
Well,
to say
I
this
know
too.
that the state of Montana has lots of hydropower.
Mhm.
We could shut down our coal plants very easily, and we have maybe 2 or 3 natural gas plants that could also be shut down.
And you are actually only surpassed by the Dakotas. First
What is-
north and then south.
Montana.
Yeah.
So Montana's third.
Yes. And
Not bad at all.
Actually,
Woo-hoo,
if I'm reading this
Montana.
right, Colorado is 5th.
What's fourth?
New Mexico.
Jinx.
So.
Stop.
Oh wait, no.
And
sorry,
Coke,
it's
you owe
6th.
me a Coke.
Sorry, I was wrong. It's
You
You owe me
6th.
a Pepsi.
Invalid.
It is 6th. I'm
Completely
wrong.
valid.
Okay, this is conversation over. This podcast where mature individuals here have this off screen.
Yeah, right.
But
Nah. Gotta have a little fun.
it is actually 6th because
What is?
Colorado is actually 6th.
Mm.
It is preceded by New Mexico and then Wyoming, and then Montana is 3rd, and then North Dakota at 25,478%, and then South Dakota.
At what percent again?
Basically 250 times what they use.
Yep,
So 25,000%.
pretty much.
And Montana does 230 times what it uses.
Functionally. So,
So we could probably run just Rainbow and still be fine.
yeah.
Yeah, more than just Rainbow.
Okay, Rainbow and Black Eagle.
Now,
You might want to run Coulter because you need a bit of a wider spread. In other words, you don't want all your power going from one place. I mean, you want to have power generation in a few
Okay,
spaced locations.
the network
Yeah.
of power distribution in the state of Montana is built to distribute it to other states.
Yes, but there is dissipation. I will grant you that there's not that much dissipation, but power does dissipate.
You're
Oh.
right, it does. That's why they
Distance.
increase the voltage to extremely high levels, as in 120 kV.
well, the thing is that you still want to have separate power plants because if one goes out and that's your only power plant, it doesn't matter if you're producing 23 times the electricity you use, you have none.
Exactly.
Well, that's why we would keep several going if the state were to be isolated.
So, well, I think that's about all I've got for power.
Okay.
So,
How about
Talking-
complete self-sufficiency? Could any state on
Complete
the
self.
world stage be self-sufficient? As in be declared by the UN to be an actual country?
Montana probably could because we have military enough.
military enough? Do you mean enough?
We have the
military?
largest militia of the entire country.
Not to mention we have nukes.
True, but it's iffy as to whether those would go to us or not. At best.
How about the fact that we cut the United States off from them?
And then they shoot from North Dakota and South Dakota upon us.
So they would basically do
Using
damage to
B2s.
themselves.
B-2s and B-52s, not necessarily nuclear. Just destroy the missiles that we have.
All right, well, I think that's about it for that because this is going to get depressing really fast.
Okay, so talking about Montana, I'll transition to Montana State University. I think I found the biggest asshole on campus.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let's.
No, Cody knows. Cody was there. So this is Tuesday. This is what? 3 o'clock? No, this is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 1:30-ish. Right?
I think so, yeah.
And there's one building called EPS. It's Engineering and Physical Sciences. And what, you didn't know where I was going at first?
Exactly.
You should know. I mean, this guy was an asshole. But we call it the 1080 atrium. It's the lobby for EPS. And I was down there, and it's like, oh, hey, Cody, come on down and meet me down here. And there's plenty of room, and it's quiet down here, and we could probably study. Because we had a couple other friends, 2 other guys who were going to come and join us and study. Well, Cody and I sit down. Well, I was sitting down for about an hour where I was. Cody comes and sits down next to me. And this small group doing a tour comes and stands next to our table. So it's like, okay, who cares? The other guys come and join us, and we're talking, in our normal voices.
And the professor
looks at us and literally with the snarkiest attitude goes, hey guys, hush. And I about knocked that fucker out. I mean, pardon my language, but that guy was an asshole. If I ever have him, I'm walking straight out of his class.
Do you know what he looked like?
No, I can't remember.
Neither can I.
Okay.
But it'd be hard
My
to
guess is
forget
a
an attitude like that.
Okay. Probably.
In which case, you could, if you reported to the to President Cruzado, you might be able to get him fired.
I don't know who it was, though.
They have records.
Well, I don't think they've got records of everything every professor has ever said while they're at MIT.
It's not that. It's a record of
the lobby also has video.
And I mean, the thing is, it's not that bad. The guy was a douche. I mean, granted that he wasn't like doing anything illegal. He wasn't fudging papers.
But if
he was just being a
students
douche
in that manner, when they're trying to get studying done, he needs to leave.
Well, yes and no, but I guess I'm too nice. But
What would the no be?
if he's a good professor, I guess, and his students get good grades, and he's effective, you don't want to get rid of an effective teacher.
Well, if that teacher is surrounded in controversy, I don't care how effective they are. Hell, they could have 5 doctorates from Harvard for all I care. But
He was one day asshole out of here.
If I'm still getting controversial reports about the guy, I don't really care about them.
And especially even if we were in the hallway and he walked by doing a tour, he could probably hush us then. The hallways, with classrooms, kind of a quiet place. We're in the lobby, for God's sakes.
Where people are studying all around us.
Yeah, it's a lobby. It's a place where people gather.
And study.
Yeah. Or talk. It's an atrium. It's not hush, hush, quiet zone.
That would be the couple of floors of the library. Something I just wanted to mention. Actually, I've got something stupid that I noticed on campus. Something that I noticed on campus that just makes me wonder why we have this. But I'll get into that in a minute. But for those of you who don't know, we have a 4-floor library.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And 2 of those floors are dead silent zones. And something that I noticed a few days ago is basically everyone has their own private little desk. And now, see, this makes me angry because the original way they had it was a bunch of desks. There were a lot of them. They were all lined up, and it was almost like nice little cubicle areas. So I went in there, and granted, they were wood and they looked old, and I understand that might be an eyesore for some people. But anyway, I went up there a few days ago, and they've replaced it with this like metal, curvy, flower-looking thing. And it's not the design that bothers me. I actually do like the design a lot, but there's like, for every 2 desks that they got rid of, they put in maybe 1. So now it's impossible to find a place to sit up there.
Oh, jeez.
It makes me this makes me upset because it's like, okay, I need to take an exam and I don't want to do it in the sub where there's people screaming in my ear. If you're wondering, the sub is kind of our little student union.
Well, it's the union. It's the student union building
on campus.
So it's a place of gathering and recreation
and general loudness.
Food. Lots of food.
So, that just made me mad.
And a gift shop.
So I noticed that, but the libraries are dead silent zones. Atriums are not, and professors probably shouldn't be telling their students to shut up when the student is not talking in their class.
Especially while on a tour with a prospective student right there.
Exactly. It's like, you know what? I'm too nice to do this, but I should have turned around and gone, dude, we're in the atrium. You go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were here first. And the students, any prospective student would be like, that guy's awesome.
And would have wanted to come.
Exactly. That student just told off a professor. This school is great. Because they're still in high school. And you know how high schoolers think.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So now, something I was mentioned earlier that I wanted to talk about. It's a tradition our school has, and I completely forgot about it until earlier today. And
When they were running by.
yes, now I want to actually bring this up myself. Now, this is a very popular school tradition, although I personally think it's just really stupid. I
didn't run into him today.
But so anyway,
But
I was coming out of Hannon Dining Hall. That's considered the nicer dining hall on campus. Anyway, so I was walking by this group of students, and they're listening to this one guy talk, right? There's a bunch of boys, girls there, roughly 50-50. So I'm just standing there, and I'm standing there watching. It's like, oh, something's going on. It's probably some rally, because earlier that day we were actually having a Native American gathering thing, and I didn't stop to that because I would have, but I was hungry. Yes,
I would have, but I was going to class.
Yeah.
So I just averted it.
I would have, but I didn't, because I actually wouldn't have. I diverted around it. I mean, I went right past them.
Yeah.
At least we are comfortable enough with ourselves that we know to divert around a gathering
Yes.
Now-
instead of going right through the middle and interrupting.
Yeah, by the way, there are
Kids
people
are
who do
breaking
that,
things.
and that's really disrespectful.
Those guys are assholes.
But now anyway, what was I getting to? And actually, yes, this is something that kind of did raise some concern for me, because we at this little learned about the Native Americans. That I think it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. I think it's great. There was a lot of little kids there, and that's not a problem. But this is a separate thing I was walking by. It wasn't the Native American thing. I was walking
This
by
is
all
part of
these
the
people.
university with university students.
Yes, this is university student thing. Anyway, so I'm walking by, and these people, and at one point, the guy says something, and I'm actually listening to my iPod, so I don't know what he's saying. But at that cue, all the people start taking their clothes off, and the next thing I know, there's a bunch of people in their underwear, and I'm panicking. I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, oh, and I remember, at MSU, we have this thing called the undie run or something to that effect.
It is called the undie run, yes.
And what happened was a bunch of people stripped down to their underwear, and keep in mind, this is boys and girls.
And
so
run
it's like
what? A 5K?
something to that effect. Yeah, they run a 5K all
In their
across
underwear.
campus.
What's that, Cody?
I think it might have been 8K. But
8K? Yeah, either way.
Anyway, it's actually a very considerable run. It's not some cheesy little thing. But
It's
I was just like,
it's a quarter marathon in your underpants.
and I was just standing there as they
In
were
my
running
boxers,
by me.
I would be jumping all around.
I was just
Trying to
standing
run.
there watching as they were running past me, and I like
Jumping,
literally
flopping.
the first thing that came into my head was, and I'm actually not very religious when I say this, but good God, don't leave us this way. Don't leave us like this.
The
Don't
Lord is
leave.
not that bad.
Yeah, I that was
He
like,
doesn't smite like that. If he wants to smite you, he will send a 40-day, 40-night flood.
But I was just thinking, maybe this is hell. I don't know. I don't think it is, because there's a lot of good things that have happened. But this is certainly not something that I'm proud of with my generation, because I personally, no. People can do what they want to do. It's a free country. But personally, if we're having a group, if we're having something like that, that's fine, as long as it's contained in the campus. But the thing that bothered me about it was that not too far away, like I mentioned, there was the Native American thing, which had a bunch of little
Elementary
kids.
and middle schoolers everywhere. And you got these college students running by half naked,
And I mean, some of them were actually wearing undergarments that were rather inappropriate.
Or
Not really
skimpy.
That's what
Like-
I meant.
Well, or they could have, very lewd designs.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, oh no, please don't let some kid get traumatized for this. And, that's something that,
That's not something around here in Montana. Little kids like that, they don't even notice.
And then we're not talking girls in, short shorts and sports bras. We're talking girls in lingerie. We're talking girls in panties and very tight-fitting bras.
Okay, some of the middle schoolers may have taken notice and.
Well, yeah, I started
yeah, but
doing some inappropriate actions
Well,
as middle school
still,
boys do.
still though, when you're, still, that's not probably something.
12 years old and horny as
You
hell.
should not be, what I'm saying here is you should not have, say, elementary schoolers with that. I don't think that's
Yeah, it is inappropriate to have those two, coming together.
And and another thing is that it wasn't just women wearing
It's also guys in banana hammocks.
yeah, there was that too. And literally, as I was walking, as they were
Jump
running
just
by
boom.
me, as they were running by me, I was thinking, oh no. Please don't. Please tell me the kids are off campus by now. Because actually, by the time that was happening, I think they had all
I
taken
don't
off.
know. They were
What
still
time was it?
here.
The
The
I don't
undie runs.
know.
It was before the kids left. I know that.
then. Well, okay. Hopefully,
Because you remember when we saw the
started
buses
that.
loading the kids up. This is
There
about
are a lot
2
of
hours
schools
before that.
around us.
All right. Well, hopefully, no little kids have been scarred, emotionally
Where the
traumatized.
hell was it? I saw one of the buses,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw 2 of them.
but I saw the name on the
First
side.
student.
No,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't local.
Ooh,
There was a bus of kids here that wasn't local.
Excuse me.
Belgrade or Livingston or something like that.
What would Livingston's be?
Park High or something.
No, it sounded like it was from a decent distance.
What was the first letter?
I can't remember at this point. I have no short-term memory, by the way.
Well, either way, I just thought it was something that, and I understand if some college kids want to do that. I wouldn't do it. I would never do it.
No,
I don't really.
in front of
know.
high schoolers, yeah, boys are so freaks, but in front of high schoolers, that'd be a decent promotion for the college. It's like, hell yeah, there's an
Yeah.
underwear run.
Well,
I mean, that's in the brochure is the undie run.
it is.
For prospective students, it's in the brochure, undie run.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the things where I kind of this is just me. I'm very much a prude in this sense, and it's like, don't do that because I come from a town where people would do this type of thing. I come from a city where, and certain people who are also from the city will know what this is,
slicker.
where people will literally take off all their clothes. I mean, literally have everything on. Then they'll put a pumpkin on their head so the police can't identify them, and they'll run by the school. And this has caused controversy in the past because they've run by elementary schools, and this has been a major problem for the city. And I'm just
position as police cruiser nearby.
Unfortunately, they've tried that. It doesn't work. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it doesn't work. And the door open left a nice cool breeze.
Oh yeah, I'll ask him to leave it open.
But so that was, I've just always been very much a prude in that sense. In that, I have a very strict definition of what is acceptable in a public space and what is not. And
How
I
about
understand.
the armored
But-
personnel vehicle that the police department just got?
well, I mean,
The one in Great Falls just got one also a couple months ago. So
okay, I haven't heard anything about that. What is that? Is that a
it's a former military vehicle that is being given away through a grant program.
okay?
And it arrived here around the same time that the Great Falls one arrived in Great Falls.
All right.
And the city commission didn't even know it existed for a few months.
Okay, just a sec. Hey, Randy, can you leave the door open because it brings a cooling breeze through here?
Yes, please.
Recording.
It'll be fine. Just leave the door open. Don't worry about
Trust me, they're quiet.
it. And trust me,
I'm not worried about them being loud. I'm worried about us being loud.
we'll be
Too bad. We've got till 12 till we have to be quiet.
Well, no, we'll be fine. We'll keep our voices down. And
Oh, yeah.
unfortunately, these walls are kind of paper thin anyway.
No, they're not.
They aren't.
No.
Not here.
Chase doesn't even listen. Doesn't even know that I watch videos until 3 a.m. some days.
Ah.
He sleeps like a baby.
Okay, that's
Well,
good.
so do I. I sleep I sleep more like a rock than a baby. Like,
But I mean,
legitimately, Rob had to get me up today.
Anyway, we were talking about the armored personnel carrier that Bozeman PD just got
Huh?
so
in July.
I'm actually pretty surprised about this because
The
doesn't
city commission didn't know about it until last week.
What?
that actually kind of raises a bit of a red flag because a city commission that is that like not in queue
There
with
was
its
only one
military.
commissioner that even knew about it.
Well, I mean, still that's still kind of a cause for concern though.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, how many other things are they not talking about? Oh, by the way, we also got 4 rocket launchers in August. Oh, and we also
2
have
tanks.
and 2 tanks and 3 drones. Oh, and by the way, we've been patrolling over neighborhoods. By the way, did you notice that everyone stays inside now? Everyone used to be so much more homey, but now everyone's decided to stay inside. I don't know why they.
I have no idea. I've had no clues for this.
Apparently, the grant application was submitted earlier this week, and it actually was approved by the commission.
And you know that's a bunch of guys standing in a room, like these military dudes standing there. They've been denied like 15 times. They're like, "Come on, this is it. This is the one. This is the one." And it comes through, and it's like they all just won the freaking lottery. Yeah! Woo! Yeah!
You know it's the PD, not the military.
Yeah.
Either way, they're just screaming for joy.
Like, they
Like,
get to keep it.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm actually,
Actually,
yeah.
I don't even know if that vote has gone up yet. I think it might be Monday.
Well, I mean, talking about what I think is acceptable in public, like, is it an official military dictator type looking thing that they're going to be parading through the streets? Like,
No.
Okay, so is it largely going to be like?
It's for SWAT.
Okay, so it's not going.
In
to
other
be
words,
used
if there's a
unless-
school shooting, like we talked about earlier today before the podcast, if there's a school shooting, which the way things are
Maybe
going,
possibility.
you don't know. You need something that is quick response, gets people out of the way, and can do some damage.
Well, it
Okay.
can't quite do damage, but it does.
It doesn't have a mounted 50 cal.
No, they took it off before they sent it here.
Yeah,
Well, that's lame.
That's part of the police,
yeah, dude,
not military.
you can't.
Police still get M16s.
Yes, but they don't get 50 cals.
There's a
Yes.
difference. But no, I think that's definitely something that needs to. I think that's okay because I mean, yeah, it's only going to be used in emergencies like a school shooting. It's not going to be
And-
paraded through the streets in a Soviet Union. Look how great the state is, type of thing. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, and if that does happen, I can guarantee you the federal government will step in and say, yeah, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Especially since they technically still hold the deed.
Yeah, yeah, they still hold the deed. Yeah, listen, you can't
Title.
parade this
It's a
thing.
title, not a deed.
Okay, yeah.
There
anyway,
is a difference.
Actually, they do own the deed to all of the land in the United States.
Deeds are for land, and titles are for vehicles. That was my
The thing
thing.
is, your property taxes go to pay for your lease on the first 2 inches of it. The feds own everything else. They literally own everything from the center of the core to the 2 inches below the surface of this country.
Yeah, that's land rights, mineral rights. Which means if you discover,
Which means if you
Discover.
discover anything, even an endangered species, sorry, time to go. Eminent domain.
Yeah,
although
Literally, the entire
literally.
Land Act, it literally, almost even in bold print states, if we want to, we can take whatever we want of your land.
Well, they have to
And
prove
you have
the
no
public
say.
benefit.
yeah, they have to prove it's a public benefit. Because I mean, Yeah, they can't just say, "Oh, we're taking your land for the hell of it." Like they can't do that. That is very difficult.
And if they tried to, you have
Only because it's unconstitutional.
Well,
there's a reason it's unconstitutional.
It's yours, but not technically.
Mm.
It's theirs, but it's yours. It's yours, theirs. Theirs, yours.
so, but anyway, so we should probably get back to more like MSU related topics because
Oh yeah, that vehicle is also going to be.
I was kind of trying to segue you guys real quick off oil for like an hour.
yeah, I've actually been trying to do the same thing.
No, I was like
This is
halfway
off of
through
oil.
your rant, your
Yeah,
whole thing.
that's true.
I was
Anyway,
I said,
Anyway, yeah.
That vehicle is going to be used to support all of the local law enforcement and state law enforcement within the south central region of the state.
Okay, so it's not going to be Bozeman only. Get your hands off of it, Billings.
Yeah, Billings won't be using it because they
still
have
get your
one
hands
now.
off of it, Billings.
There's one in Billings, Great Falls, Bozeman, Missoula, and Kalispell.
Miles City,
Doesn't have one yet.
but they sure as hell go through there a lot.
Say what?
The farmland over Miles City is bomber testing ground. It
Not
is.
the local area. It's south.
Actually,
Southeast
I'm
of
thinking closer to Broadus, not Miles City.
Yeah,
Outside
And-
Broadus.
there was a plane that went down there.
Yeah,
a year ago.
it was the day that I went through there on my way to MSU to start school.
Yeah, he nearly saw it come out of the sky.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have scarred me.
Yeah, it was a B-1B.
B-1B Lancer.
Boeing actually has designs for a B-1R.
Reconnaissance?
Nope.
What?
Radar reflective.
Oh, a stealth bomber.
Nice.
Well, it's radar absorbent material that would be on
See,
it.
I wouldn't call that an R variant. I'd call that an S variant, a stealth. Because R is reconnaissance.
But it's not a stealth aircraft. It's only design. The only change in the design is the coating.
Wait, I thought you're saying it's radar. How would that be coding? That would just be
Coating.
oh. We code a lot, so I'm on coding,
Yeah.
not coating. I would have just said paint.
They're also going to be using it as basically a bomb truck. They can use data from fighters that are up to 200 miles away, and their missiles will hit home. As in, a squadron of F-35s can paint the targets, and a pair of B-2Rs can take out a whole battalion.
Of Caliban.
No, of fighter jets.
Caliban fighter jets.
There are none.
Not yet, but give it a couple years.
Not a chance. Who in their right minds would sell to them?
China, but they're not in their right minds.
Then they're not going to sell to them.
No, they're not in their right minds, so they're going to sell to them, possibly.
Why?
I won't say probably. That's not a statement I can make. But it's a possibility that China is dumb enough to just sell anything to anyone.
No.
No, that's not going to
Communist
happen.
state.
And the reason that is the case is because they will not sell something to the enemy of their biggest customer. That is insanity and economic suicide. And actually, now that you've gotten on the topic of China, I know China recently elected a new
China?
president, or what do they call their head of state?
I don't know.
Because I know they elected a new one not
Communism
too long
guy.
ago. Ah, here it is. Okay, so actually the
Communism.
president of China, the new president of China who was elected not too long ago, his name is Xi Jinping. So,
There is so not a democracy.
The People's Republic of China. So
they're a wishy-washy kind of.
They flip back and forth between communism and democracy, which doesn't work.
They
that
also flip back and forth between communism and capitalism, as in
and democracy.
within the same location. They have communistic food sources right next to commercial farms.
China is
That's a paradox.
so. China is a very. I don't want to say
It's a very special case.
Yeah, it's a
They're
very special.
It would require days to explain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, China is.
And we are not going to be live streaming for 3 days.
Yeah. No, and I'm certainly not going to get into China's politics and the. Oh man, China is.
It's hard to discuss China in any general terms because it's such a large country, both population and land area.
And
it's
large in terms of the
also
power.
wishy-washy.
China, well, obviously it's only wishy-washy in the sense of it flips between capitalism and communism, but it is not wishy-washy in how much power.
Democracy.
It is not wishy-washy in the sense of how much power does it hold on the world stage, which I think we can all agree is a lot.
Their army can march 99 abreast into the ocean and never run out of people.
Jeez.
They're being replaced that rapidly.
Jesus, man.
Although
What in the hell?
so, something I
Holy
actually
crap,
have heard
just
as
Popping them in and popping them out.
actually
Throwing them
as
in
I
and popping them
have
out.
heard. So
It's in part because they
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
a required amount of time in the armed services.
yeah, that's
The
true.
thing is, China still has the one-child rule, right?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
But there's so many people that it's still expanding ever very rapidly.
No, it's not.
No, China's population is shrinking.
They're stagnant.
Stagnant? They're only stagnant? I thought they were going down a little bit. Because
When it comes to birth rate.
Okay, when it comes to birth rate, yeah. Because I remember I once watched something that essentially it was going on about how schools are doing, and the schools in China, like they've got, I want to say some schools are like one kid per school or something like that. And then in places like India, you've got literally, since we're college kids, I can relate this, you've got giant lecture halls crammed into, I want to say, your typical regular high school classroom size.
Oh my god.
No, it is insane.
Oh, I believe it. India is so
Stacked
dense.
desks.
Yeah. There are no desks. There's no room for desks. Kids just sit on the floor or stand against the wall. It's that big.
Yeah, it's.
If I were in that
I
area,
believe
get me out now.
Yeah.
Well, where are you gonna go with what money? That's
I mean,
the thing.
This
You
is
don't actually need money to travel around in India. Just grab onto the side of the train.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, this is assuming that you know all of.
Their rail network is.
How are you gonna
entirely
get
government
food
run.
wherever you go?
They have very cheap meals available on board the trains,
Well,
as in a couple of pennies.
the thing is that
Couple of
okay?
movies.
Let's say that he was
No, American
someone.
pennies.
Let's say he was spontaneously teleported to India
India
with
uses
40 American
rupee.
dollars in his pocket. He would be.
I could get to the airport and, I could get to the consulate and beg for a ticket back home.
Yeah, you can easily get to the consulate and beg for a ticket back home. I mean, that's
Now
not
I
fun.
get the ticket.
Well, no, they have to give it to him because he's an American citizen.
Well,
who's
first of all,
traveling.
they'd have to.
But they bill you later. It's the American government, but it's still the American government. We will give this
May I
to you if
finish
you pay
my
us.
Yeah.
Statement.
Yeah, you're gonna have to stop interrupting people because that does not make this look professional.
They would first have quite a
That's
few
a Rooster
questions
Teeth.
for me.
Who has over 1 million subs?
Dude.
What? Go.
I just said it. They would have a lot of questions for me if I suddenly appeared in India with no passport and no record of leaving the country.
Yeah. You have no birth certificate. You have no record of any Indian citizenship. They can find a bunch of American records, though, that you were born in America. The next thing you know.
And that I was attending this university and I had a test today.
The next thing you know, oh, hey, look, you're all of a sudden in India. Okay, well, number one, we need to figure out what caused you to get like turned into a beam of light. And we need to
how
send you
did I
home.
suddenly leave Montana and appear in India?
That's what I mean, get turned into a beam of light.
There would be quite a few questions and a few scientific tests and on and on.
And once it got into the public, mass panic. People would be worried about randomly warping to places across the globe.
Or out of the globe.
Well, let's just contain it to the planet for right now, and let's contain it to land masses so we don't have dozens of people drowning. Of course, that would be. Well, anyway.
There are unexplained disappearances every day.
Number one of the most popular ones was
Bermuda Triangle.
Amelia Earhart.
Not Amelia Earhart.
Oh, the guy that jumped from the plane?
No. He didn't jump from a plane. He was in a parking lot and they never saw him again. Oh god, she was like a singer or something.
Okay.
I don't know. No, wasn't it the Big Bopper who was killed in a plane crash, like in a private plane crash?
Finally, tomorrow morning's trains in Chicago are showing up on the status board.
I bet you Harper's Ferry's still empty.
Well, we can take a look. It probably is, since the next scheduled arrival there is quite a few hours away. Yep, still blank. Should I show them the status boards?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Seems how we haven't linked anything else this podcast.
What's his name? I'm still looking for that.
This is one way that I can determine what's going on around the country when it comes to Amtrak. It kind of sucks information from their servers into a private server that then compiles it into this form.
That technically probably isn't legal.
Yeah, it actually is entirely legal because they provide it as public information.
And yet, you can't sit in a tower and watch planes take off.
Nope.
Thank you, United States. You suck.
Well, this only tells you whether it's departed or whether it's running on later, earlier on time, or whatever. In this case, it shows a train in Spokane, Washington that is currently boarding. It is also combining with the second section of said train. And they should be leaving on time any moment.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh,
they just don't know where he's buried.
yeah.
They
He's
pretty much know exactly how he died. He was a mobster. End of story.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the most impressive ones for when it comes to this status board is New York Penn Station. Simply because there's over 130 trains a day that go through there.
And the fact that there's, 10 on the list right now?
Yeah, 10 on the list for the next it's like 6 hours.
All right. So not to cut off, but I'm actually
Like,
getting
short
really
limited
hungry, and the local
is now
dining hall closes
overdue.
in 30 minutes, so I'm probably gonna have to take off in a few minutes.
Did you not get dinner?
No, I did, but I'm hungry again.
No, lovely.
So.
Okay then. All right,
I think
so
that was
yeah, I guess that makes a good time to wrap things up.
And-
So I haven't gotten another episode of Minecraft out yet. Maybe I'll just do two, but be looking for a live stream in that tomorrow for a Let's Play Minecraft.
Do a double length one.
Okay, yeah, I'll just do a double length.
And I'm gonna get my channel active again at some point in the future.
But Cody, are you gonna do open rails tomorrow at some point after
Maybe.
the Padres?
It's possible.
Possibly. Okay.
If I do, it will be on the northeast corridor from Philly to Washington.
Okay.
Probably with no AI traffic at all.
Headed from Philly to Union Station.
Yeah.
Um.
How does a 150-mile-an-hour sound?
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, don't know if that'll be up, but we'll see. And we'll be back next week with another episode of WNTDI Podcast. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.
I'm Carson. I don't know if I'll be back again. Anyway, my channel will be in the description.
Bye.
Bye.